And some simple advice: avoid businesses where you need a government permit because it's going to be slow and you're relying on the government to even get it. Look for global sources of income and hire based on merit. There are lots of things we can do to retake power as individual economic actors.
What can South Africa learn from the Austrian School of Economics? I posed this question to Ian Macleod in a recent episode of my podcast. What follows is a short extract from our longer conversation. You can watch the full episode by clicking on the link in the description below. Enjoy. But now, some of my audience, most of whom are in South Africa, are probably wondering, well, okay, this is all very good and well, but how does it apply to the South African context? And maybe we could look at some of areas of economic policy in South Africa that have been influenced perhaps by Keynesianism or much more overtly socialist orientation. And maybe we could together just try to explain how an Austrian approach might solve some of these problems. The one most obvious one is unemployment in South Africa. I mean, you have so many people out of jobs, at least on the official definition. What would an Austrian say about South Africa's high unemployment rates?
We can go back to fundamentals. Long-term, free markets with some rules, people getting up every day thinking, what am I going to do today that's best for me and my family? You dive into an economy and with obvious exceptions, you tend to do things that are best for the economy. And we've had phenomenal market distortions. One I raise quite often is BEE, and I think that's just a market distortion that it hits all those points that Austrian school economists shudder at. It's a big central bureaucracy that decides something and lays down a rule which is implemented and enforced by the state's monopoly on violence. And I think all of this adds up to, well, we can go back to the others: excessive taxation, poor government spending, on the wrong things, on unproductive things. And I think all of this over many years accumulates to the general stagnation and terrible unemployment figures. You did look for solutions, and I think we're starting to see the light, I think. And I think many people are calling for solutions. They may not seat them in any particular school of thought, but I think increasingly we're seeing commentators going, let's sell state-owned entities. They're failing. They're too big. They don't know what we want. They don't respond to market signals because government pumps more money in whenever they need it. Let's sell the SOEs. Let's get rid of BEE. It's not achieving its purpose, and it's causing all kinds of damage. And I think a nice body of solutions lies in something out of I think it's is it AfriForum? No, specialises. They call it state-proofing your business. And I think this is quite a practical individual level solution that all of us can apply. And I spoke to their chief economist recently, Russell Lamberti, another product of the University of Cape Town economics department, and asked him for some of these practical guidelines. And it's quite simple. One, he recommends join or start a local business forum or guild. Localization, decentralization is endorsed by Austrian School economics. It brings decision-making closer to the individual, further away from the lumbering bureaucrat. Escape black economic empowerment. Specialises has, based on some rulings and some legal opinions, they reckon we have a lot of scope now to escape BEE in our businesses. And then there are a number of even smaller things. We can join Neighborhood Watch. This came out of a friend of mine who I quote anonymously in my piece. I can announce his name is Konstantinos Papadopoulos. He had to state-proof his family business just in recent years. And some simple advice: avoid businesses where you need a government permit because it's going to be slow and you're relying on the government to even get it. Look for global sources of income and hire based on merit. There are lots of things we can do to retake power as individual economic actors.
Yeah, I think another thing I would add to that is litigation. I mean, obviously the courts, there are certain limitations, but that matter that you referred to with regards to Sarkelich's achievements with BE, it basically got component of pre-qualification criteria in preferential procurement policy kind of scrapped. So I think that was a very important victory. And if you think of the leverage of something like that, I mean, how much would that litigation have cost? Probably a few £100,000. The amount of capital that is unlocked in the country is orders of magnitude larger. And yeah, I mean, I think also policy think tanks, advocacy organizations, you mentioned AfriForum, Institute of Race Relations, organizations like AUTA, even small, very policy-focused organizations like an Sussman Foundation. All of these play a role also in dispersing power as well. And I think maybe in South Africa we've gotten used to kind of delegating policy making and decision making to government, and then appealing to government to make certain policy choices. But actually, we can create policy, we can propose alternatives, and also engage in conflict with the state, and to achieve certain policy outcomes, rather than just kind of engaging in a kind of a weird social compacting kind of exercise.
Yeah, I think we owe a great debt of gratitude to the likes of the entities you mentioned.
And I'm going to be joining another one, just the Free Market Foundation. Shouldn't neglect to
absolutely. Let's add them. We owe all of them a great debt for raising funding, undergoing litigation, and I watched for AUTA, for example. They had that recent victory regarding the e-tolls. Sakaliga had one recently, which you mentioned, and I think, I suppose my approach tends to be that I know stuff and I write stuff, and that's kind of my contribution. But I think these organizations that actually go present a powerful argument and in court, I think that is, and that's something we can all contribute to. I think if you have a little bit of cash that you want to put into something good, charity can achieve some things. But I think, if you look at it through the lens of the Austrian School economist, you're going to do a lot more good directing your money at some litigation that's going to free up the economy.
All right. So one of the underlying themes of the Austrian School, and also of this show, not accidentally, is this idea of decentralization and the distribution of power down and out, rather than concentrating it in the hands of politicians or civil servants or bureaucrats. Why do you think this idea of decentralization is an important kind of conceptual foundation for Austrian economics?
Think of the most simple human nature. If I believe I can go to a neighborhood meeting and have my say, and people might just listen and something will get done, good chance I'll do it. If I look at a session of parliament, there's nothing I can do really. I'd rather sit back and respond, just accept whatever they do, whatever they hand down. And I think that gels with the Austrian emphasis on individual freedom. I think the closer we get to the individual, the better. And so I do mention Cape, where the Western Cape, potential for Western Cape independence. I think more independence is almost always a better thing. Practically, I think that's showing itself to be the case in the Western Cape. Yeah, and I think it goes down to just that very simple notion that we take care of things that we own. We're more likely to take care of our own garden and the sidewalk outside our house than to contribute to a body far away who promises to come over and cut the lawn.
Yeah, and then there's also the free rider problems, the tragedy of the commons, that if nobody is individually responsible for something, then they kind of abdicate their responsibility, and then you have this kind of decay. So actually having a society of empowered individuals actually produces, on aggregate, better outcomes.
Absolutely. I couldn't have put it better.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this discussion, you might want to check out the full-length episode that's linked over here. You can also subscribe to my other channel that's linked over here. My name is David Ansara. Until next time, take care.